people. The population here prior to the pandemic was tenfold, if not 100-fold, what you see today. This is on the low end of people milling around on a Monday. This is pretty quiet. So it would normally be like crazy, you know, food carts everywhere, people lining up already, you know, people eat lunch at 10, 11, 12. Because you have contractors coming in as early as 5 and 6 in the morning. There's always contractors in the city. And then they eat lunch by, you know, 10, 11, 12. So even 9:30 people are, you know, picking out on hoagies and cheesesteaks. So anyway, but I was made to believe I'd be murdered the 4th Monday of January 2011. And if that weren't enough, my mom and aunt's phone lines were severed, so that when I tried to reach my mom, and who was living in Jacksonville, Florida at the time with my aunt, I heard the disconnected jingle of doo-doo-doo, we're sorry, the phone you're trying to reach has been disconnected. So what a coincidence. In fact, it was extremely rare in the history of landlines to have that occur. But it was timed perfectly with whatever was kicked off the 4th Monday of January 2011. And if that weren't enough, the games commenced, and people who learned or have been trained to do something really, you know, ground level terroristic, but you know, a lot of them, I would dare say, they're not street people. It would be like people with educations who learned to do certain things, like set people up. We're running amok around the city, and say they just decide, you know what, we're going to unleash on this person, and I happen to be that one. I don't want to be a victim of this. I didn't want to wind up in this group, and I don't like the idea of being, you know, I'm not puffing myself up. I know it was bad. There are days, I know getting through 2011 was like, I can't believe I'm still alive. Actually, like, I couldn't cry because I was stunned so badly, but at the end of 2011, I kind of broke down when I met up with someone who in my mind was assigned to me as like a sort of friend, coffee friend. So, you know, I sort of had to put up with, you know, losing a lot of other friends, two of whom, I'll give you an example of gang stalking. I sort of wound up in a weird position. I worked as a freelance writer for many years. Anyway, I sort of wound up with all kinds of gigs, and I wound up dog walking to escape a different job that I had in addition to freelance writing, which was being a counselor at Women in Transition, because the activity going on there was so bizarre. I was like, are these people for real? Or you can't behave this way in an organization that promotes counseling. Like, it was the opposite of what counselors should do. So anyway, I was like, I'll just, you know, try to take on dog walking full time and try to figure out how to transition to another job more secure, so forth and so on. And I was dog walking at Sager Run, which is behind Acme, around 11th and South, 10th and 11th and South. What's going on today? Something's going on at the DA's office while they're here. Unless they're here for pickleball, or, you know, they might be getting ready for Kamala. There's already stuff all the way down there at the Constitution Center. Anyway, so I met this woman named Steph. She had a Weimaraner named Darwin, and she seemed more like me, kind of, because I didn't love everybody at the dog park at the time. So I kind of introduced myself because I was also walking a Weimaraner, who a client of mine, you know, for like, say, 6 months. So in a way, that was a little bit too much of a coincidence, but I still talked to her. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, how long have you had your Weimaraner, and blah, blah, blah. I was trying to figure out a way to make a connection, which is, for me, is a big step, because I was on the quiet side. I didn't know how to do that kind of stuff, you know, like meet and greet or schmooze. In a way, it's schmoozing at the dog park. What are they doing here? Digging deep here by the Ritz-Carlton. Ritz is over there. It's a hotel. But anyway, met this person named Steph, and I would find out, you know, I talked to her a little bit. She's like, oh, yeah, nice to meet you. Maybe, you know, maybe, she kind of implied that maybe she could use me for dog walks at some point. Kind of. But I was more happy about finding someone who could be a potential friend. dog park with a seeming girlfriend or partner named Meg. So that kind of, I was like, oh man, because that can happen in friendships or otherwise, like, oh, who's this? Who's this bitch? So anyway, this is the land title building, and they're digging deep. So that's good intel for someone. Anyway, it's a bit. The Smokehouse Burger is awesome, by the way. It's totally. If you ever find yourself in Philadelphia, the city of, go to Hip City Veg, get a Smokehouse Burger. It's really awesome. So there's a post office building. Post office at the bottom of the land title building. A client of mine, his wife worked in the land title building. I always remember it. We're a special finance group or assets group or something like that. So anyway, Steph and Meg. So, I still said hi to Steph even though she was there with this person named Meg who I had never seen before. And who, by the way, later I would find out, her roommate was the person shot for the iPod, the mini iPod, way back in 2005. And her previous roommate had worked at Starbucks down at 4th and South, which that location no longer exists. But he was going to become a teacher, or at least go through a fellowship program to become a teacher, and he wound up shot and killed. Turns out Meg was actually the roommate of that person. Anyway, here she is with Steph, the person I'd already met. So Steph and Meg, they slowly befriend me, and we kind of did things from time to time. They invited me to a Christmas party. They invited me to just sort of a get together with another friend of theirs for dinner. Anyway, and they had a third roommate in the house that they rented at the time. I think his name was Andrew Shanks or something like that. But anyway, always read people's last names because it could be a clue as to what they think their job is in life. So if someone's last name is Shanks, usually you hear Shank with, I'm gonna shank a bit, So that's probably, I don't know. Anyway, we won't get into it because I had to start reading names and decide whether I should trust people or not. But so there was a day when I got a call, or a night, a text and a call, and the text was like, hey Sharon, our neighbor has this dog locked up in their backyard. In the city, some townhomes have little tiny postage stamp sized backyards with fencing. Anyway, they're like, it's really dilapidated, the backyard, the house. This dog is on a chain. It looks like he's suffering. What do you think we should call? For some reason, they wanted to bring me into this decision-making process. And they're like, do you think we should call the Humane Society or Animal Control or whatever? Whoever you call regarding this issue with the neighbor with the dog chained up in the back who's been left outside for quite a long time. And I was like, I don't know, I didn't know what to say. I was like, have you seen the neighbors? I really didn't know what to say. So I was like, I guess, but then what does that look like when the Humane Society shows up? I was kind of this person who would normally try to think of other ways to figure out what was going on before actually calling in anyone of authority to tell on someone per se. So they said, well, anyway, whenever you come over, they might have known that about me. They said, whenever you come out, when you come over this week to walk Dar